Hi, Johnny.
Hi, Gore.
How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Just swell.
Hey, what's that?
Look, in the fog. Here she comes. That's This shot was an absolute nightmare.
Was that
It's actually 5 shots put together.
really?
The lighting didn't match on any of them.
So it's digital. It's digital. There's a lot of digital sort of imagery in there.
Not much, just
No?
one piece, and it's just all pasted together, different takes pasted together and relit and flopped and flipped. And
Wow.
I think we shot it really early in the schedule, and it kind of came in 2 days before the release date.
2 days.
Kevin McNally.
Yes.
He's got such a great voice. He used to do like children's books or,
Evan McNally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got like that.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Louis Stevenson.
Jack Davenport is a great find, man.
Yeah, he's kind of, I think, become the American Express card. You just don't want to do a movie without him.
Yeah.
He can do anything. He's always just got it going.
I intend to see to it that any man who
I think good old Jonathan Pryce.
The two of them, I mean,
Yeah,
at dinner, just,
The comedy stylings.
self-deprecating, the advice, of course, Jonathan would freely give Jack advice on his career.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Actually, I find still fascinating.
Yes, that's what concerns me.
He was unbelievable. When he joined the movie, I just felt this whole kind of lift. I think we were all wiped out down in the Caribbean, and Jonathan Pryce just got off the plane.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of went, oh, there's fresh blood. Ted and Terry did a really nice job with this whole,
Unbelievable.
voice through the fog. And I remember, I don't know about you, but when I first heard, pirate movie, I was like, yeah. And then based on the ride, it was like, whoa. It's a 2-hour advertisement for a theme park. And they really,
I don't know. Somehow when I heard it, when it was first mentioned to me by Dick Cook, it was like, I guess there was that initial thing, but I had a really good feeling. I just had a really good feeling. I don't know why.
well, it's, been such a completely dead genre. I was nervous. I mean, I was nervous because what's the story? I mean, it was sort of, okay, is it buried treasure? Is it kidnapping? What are the kind of 5 plots that,
And it's all of it.
It's all, yeah, all in reverse.
Yeah.
No, I like the fact that it was about putting this treasure back instead of finding, and that the mutiny had happened before the movie. There's kind of there's a whole prequel aspect to the film and they were just good writers and good to have on.
This stuff is amazing. Was it in the Caribbean?
Let's see. No, that was in San Pedro, Pirates of San Pedro.
Pirates of San Pedro, yeah.
Yeah, there was. I remember just oil tankers driving in the back.
Yeah.
And the radio doesn't work. And where are the batteries? Well, the batteries on the boat that had to go pick up, the actors, and so you can't communicate, and you're stranded in a vessel with no batteries and no working radios, trying to scream and use hand signals.
I remember, moments of absolute chaos.
That was pretty much the entire movie, if you recall.
Yeah, there was a lot of chaos. But that's why I was so shocked. Like when I saw the trailer for the first time, there's this giant epic thing when you watch the trailer. And when we were doing the film, it felt really intimate. You know what I mean? It felt like just a bunch of, people.
It's amazing. There's like 400 people, and they're all great and doing their job. They're, coming in at 3 a.m. to get all the extras and wardrobe. But then you there's really 10 people you kind of work with.
Yeah.
It's like Trevor, the focus puller, and you got Martin.
Yeah.
And you just, make the movie. So that was the whole kind of scale issue kind of just evaporates. You don't realize.
Yeah, it never felt like some giant film to me as we were doing it.
Amazingly fluid, considering the logistical nightmare.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Keira Knightley.
Wow. She was a surprise, wasn't she?
Something, huh? She's really something, that kid.
Unbelievable.
Good girl.
She came in and read for the part. You know, I didn't know who she was or anything. I hadn't seen like Beckham or any of these other movies, and it was just wow, you know.
Yeah.
And then she can act.
Yeah.
Kid can act. You know.
Yeah, she really can.
17 years old, and traveled the entire movie with her mom.
Sure, yes.
It's just great.
Great lady.
You know, those parents did something right because
She's a sweet family.
she got both feet on the ground. Confidence, you know?
Yeah.
Just like incredible confidence when put her against you and Jeffrey Rush and, you know, Jonathan Pryce. It doesn't matter. She's just comes to play.
Oh, she was there, man. She was, yeah, you could sort of try anything in a scene and she'd ride.
Some actors, you roll camera and you could swear they're thinking about like their laundry or their agent or the next deal. And she always has the thought in her head that is, you know, the scene, basically, which is a really kind of great experience. And young Mr. Bloom.
Young Mr. Bloom.
I love this part.
It's a very funny bit.
It was really you know, it was actually a longer kind of setup for him. We cut out of the movie because of length, and without it, it didn't. And it's kind of important that you take the small step to let people know, oh, it's okay to laugh.
Yeah.
Especially before your arrival in the scene, you know, Captain Jack's arrival, because
that's gold filigree laid into the hand.
They didn't know it was a kind of a drama or what. What is this movie? That little kind of 0.5 before you go to, you know, DEFCON 1.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. We put it back in and everything else started to work better.
Orlando playing just earnest and funny. Really, really funny.
I think he should do more of that.
He did. He's so good in it. He's so good.
I had to keep reminding him, you're not cool yet.
Yeah.
Because he so wanted to be like you. I mean, it's like, and no, you're still the dork. He's like, right, yeah, dork.
You. I dream about you last night.
About me? Is that entirely proper for you?
About the day we met, do you remember?
How could I forget, Miss Swan?
It's definitely on the page. He had the strongest arc. I mean, he's got the identity crisis. He's
Yeah.
got, you know,
Once more, Miss Swan. As always.
and Captain Jack just wants a ship. I mean, that's beautiful in a way that you could just at any moment just go, what? Everybody else has a kind of trajectory or whatnot, but Jack has just one agenda always. And
Yeah.
it's, you know, I love characters like that too. Yeah, exactly.
Good day.
And look at them. Jesus, they're so beautiful, the two of them. Like,
I thought the two of them together in a restaurant when I first, you know, I just knew, okay, that's taken care of.
uh-oh.
Yeah.
Darcy Blood. I remember that day, man.
I remember the boat sinking, fully capsized.
Yeah.
Dude.
I remember getting that phone.
Oh. It's like, don't worry, it's safe. That was the whole movie. Yeah. John, yes, it's been fully tested and it's safe.
30 minutes later.
Things are blowing up. Oh, man. That's the part of the kind of Murphy's Law of this movie. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
But really great arrival.
Yeah, well written. I mean, the boys, Ted and Terry, really
Yeah,
wrote a classic entrance. You know, it's just a beautiful entrance for a character.
and they're so great to have them on the entire movie. You know, that usually these movies, it's like 15 writers. You know, you can't get through the list of who's been hired to rewrite who's what, and you get this fragmented thing. And, you know, to make this movie in under a year from an outline, it was really kind of essential to just bring them in.
Yeah, it was great having. Oh yeah, I mean having them there every day was really amazing.
Just embrace it.
Oh, there's the little boogerfinger. Sweet kid, very very sweet little kid.
Great local cast.
Yeah.
And the guys we brought from LA, man, they just were living it. You know, the extras,
Oh
the hand-picked extras were just.
They're probably still living it.
They just, you know, they actually smelled like pirates. I don't think they were bathing after a while. They were so dedicated to the task. Back in
Tell you this
San Pedro again,
man. Trials.
Well, it's one of those. If you're gonna fail big. That's what
Yeah,
I'm proud of.
yeah, that's right. Who did the music finally?
About 39 people.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, basically Klaus put out the music, but there was no time, you know, at the time we knew what we were doing, and Hans Zimmer, you know, was really involved, and we'd sit in a room and it would be, you know, oh yeah, who's doing that cue? Okay, Jimmy, you're going to do that one, right? And, you know, Frank, you're going to rewrite that one. I mean, there were composers, it's like 15 composers in the movie.
Wow.
And they were all kind of shepherded by Klaus and Hans, who kind of basic themes. And yeah, they pulled a rabbit out at like the last minute. It's really hard to kind of be contemporary with that.
This dock is off limits to.
Here we go. Murtaugh and Mulroy.
Those guys, wow. They're just.
Angus Barnett.
And Giles.
And Giles. Yeah.
It's, and you'd worked with Angus and Mackenzie too, right?
I'd worked with Angus Barnett and Mackenzie Crook on Neverland.
They were amazing.
Yeah, unbelievable. Both of them.
Oh, the dauntless power in these waters chewing up.
These guys are incredible.
It's just like Laurel and Hardy. I mean,
I've heard of one.
I just want to see more of them.
Yeah.
Nigh uncatchable. The Black Pearl. Oh, there's no real ship that can match the Interceptor. Black Pearl is a real ship. No, it's not. Yes, it is. I've seen it. You've seen it? Yes. You haven't seen it? Yes, I have. You've seen a ship with black sails that's crewed by the Dapp.
And this whole thing was so well written as well. I mean, their whole spiel together was unbelievably funny.
It's just vaudeville, complete kind of. Amazing. And all that stuff in the backgrounds, the mountain and the ship. That was there.
And none of that was there?
No. I think that's the only way we made this on schedule, was just shoot now and forever, you know. It'll fix. One guy on a computer fixing something, you know, painting out
the toilet of the Black Pearl.
God.
The toity of the Black Pearl.
Just the half-finished boats and, you know, tourists driving into the bay going, what's going on over here? You know, you just have to keep rolling. We fix later. That's probably what made it feel small too. I think we were always shooting. We were always kind of rolling. No matter, you know, what was going on.
I said no lies. I think he's telling the truth. If he were telling the truth, he wouldn't have told us.
Unless, of course, he knew you wouldn't believe the truth, even if he told it.
Great faces.
Yeah.
Classic faces.
What about Penny, man? The work she did. Look at this work.
Nah, she's a gift.
Oh, Penny's on fire, man. She's amazing.
She retired. She retired from the business, like 15 years to raise her kids. Came back and she's got like infinite wisdom, you know? It has nothing to do with, you know, on the day-to-day, you know, costume designing aside.
Yeah.
She's like,
Throws into sharp
take care of her kids.
Not yet achieved. A marriage to a fine woman. You have become a fine woman, Elizabeth.
Oh, breathe.
Yes, I'm a bit nervous myself.
And then they made me their chief.
Elizabeth?
I remember the Paul was a it was a
barrel.
It was a oil can, oil drum thing, yeah.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. It was fun, those days down there.
Yeah, looking back on it. Looking back on it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Tony Angelotti's famous swan dive.
Oh, he was great.
What was that?
Yeah, you think of the Caribbean in one way.
Yeah, it's presented to you in one way, and then something else.
It was part of the continuing. No, we've had it tested. Everything's fine. Then why is everyone wearing masks except for me?
I wear trash bags on my like under my boots.
It's gonna be one of those like John Wayne movies 20 years from now.
That's a beautiful thought.
One of us will be alive.
Remember when my wig came off? Take where my wig came off.
And Angus started feeding it to Kira.
Yeah.
Dead rodent.
I never would have thought of that. Clearly, you've never been to Singapore.
Yeah, I love these little odd references that Ted and Terry put in there.
It's really great. You know, when you... That's the surprise to me. You know, you kind of hedge your bet because of the whole, you know, Hammer brand and the audience expectations, summer movie and all that. And you kind of put, you know, you blow up ships and you have explosions and skeletons and all that stuff. And then you get it, you know, the big education for me is that it reinstored the faith in the audience that they're responding to kind of the nuance of the movie that you could really make with the lights you could carry in the back of your station wagon. You know, it's like, you know, 200 more skeleton shots aren't going to mean anything. It's, you know, the awkward moment is, I think, something we all identify with. You know.
Let them see your ship, Captain.
I'm in the market, as it were.
He said he'd come to commandeer one. Told you he was telling the truth.
These scenes are really hard to shoot with you know, 14 people,
million people,
10 eye lines.
Yeah,
it was jammed into
billion angles. Sharon really kicked ass. Sharon
was Reynolds Enriquez. Yeah,
she's amazing.
She's one to bring along everywhere.
What a crew, man.
Yeah, really great.
Really, really lucked out. I mean, just an amazing crew all the way around.
No, I mean, that's really, I think, where you live or die by, you know, those people, man. You're surrounded.
Like a lot of the work, you know, when we were doing the work, I mean, certainly, you know, waiting, you know, just we'd do a take and I'd wait for you to, you know, see how you felt about it and stuff. But, you know, one of the greatest barometers for me was, like Trevor, focus puller, Martin, the operator, Rafi, the guys who were right in there. When you'd cut, I'd see what they were doing. So if Trevor was laughing, I knew I was in the arena that I needed to be in.
Do you know what's amazing about Trevor? Because he would land, he used to, you know, land airplanes on an aircraft carrier. So in terms of like focus pulling, there's no, you know, nobody else I'd rather have judging distance.
We're talking, precise as can be,
And I've never worked with anybody who kind of goes, nope, like right in the middle of a take, nope. You know, he'll just self-cut. I've just never even experienced that. And it's like so rare, but he's so proud of his work. And what he'll do is he'll take the knob and completely like twist it. Like you can't use it, you know, and he just grinds it. Let's do it again.
He's sharp, man. He's sharp. I made a joke.
Yeah. But I use Martin that same way though too. Like sometimes when you're judging 100 things, you know, and your mind's going, calculation. I'll look over to Martin, and he'll give me like the nod, you know, because he's right there with his eye, you know, on the eyepiece.
Yeah.
He's catching stuff. So you can't, even when you stand behind the camera or you're looking at a monitor,
He's in there.
well, it's going to be 80 feet tall, a screen someplace, And I see something and I go, is that moment, a little micro epiphany or whatever?
Yeah.
Is it behind the eyes? He's so great.
He was unbelievable. One take, running across the bridge.
That's right. That was your day coming in.
Plastic hands.
4 hours in makeup, sitting, waiting. Okay. Put him back on a boat. And the schedule was not the schedule was basically taken away from us, if I remember correctly. This is completely taken away from the ADs by our friends in production, who, to their own credit, I mean, there's this huge fear of a water movie just going 5 times over schedule and the release date, and you're not going to make it. And
Wrestling the elements.
it's a legitimate concern. I mean, nothing stays where you put it. Basically,
Having to move the
you're
boat.
trying to set a composition and the sails are blowing back. Yeah, you're going, what? 2 steps to your left. We're on a different boat. Cannons are firing. Smoker boats shut down, breaks down the middle of the ship. What is like a silent movie?
Yeah.
Look, no animals were injured in the making of this movie.
No, we were very kind to that mule.
I think too kind, actually, if I remember. It got cold there a couple of nights.
Right where I left you.
Not where I left you.
Let's talk about the sword fights, shall we?
Many, 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 many hours. Many, 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 many hours of sword fighting.
Well, from my perspective, I thought it was really, you could tell there were just different approaches, Complete. I mean,
Have I threatened you before?
Jeffrey Rush was just insane. I mean, the stunt team was like, go away.
They were exhausted by it.
Just, okay, the routine. We got, we got to work on it again. He's a completely unique bird.
Yeah, he had it down to like scientific sort of angle and everything.
And Orlando was kind of like, no, I got it, man. I got it. He was, I did Lord of the Rings, man. Don't you know? I can do this stuff.
I imagined that Captain Jack would be sort of like Ali, when he got into the ring. The other guys would put their hands up and get in that sort of boxing stance, and Captain Jack would just sort of be like Ali with the hands down,
Yeah. Just waiting for the first.
Yeah, not really wanting to fight,
How's your footwork?
He,
First step here. Very good.
Too tired.
well, it's also like, how many Band-Aids on your fingers from this stuff? I mean,
Oh, yeah, we took a few whacks, man.
wham. That's not fun.
Amazing thing was, during the training, during the sword fighting training was when I was working with Mark Ivy, one of the sword experts, and George and those guys. And then Bob Anderson, who was like 80 something.
I know, the legend.
Not that, a guy who taught like aeroplane and stuff.
Once again,
When Bob came around, he picked up the sword
you had no way.
and was like a teenager with it. It was incredible, man.
And everybody just shuts up.
Everybody stopped
Yeah.
and shut up, and we're all sweating, and he was there, and he was, absolutely fine. And like a kid.
But I think he has a great sense of character, too. I mean,
He absolutely did, yeah.
there's acting, it's not just sword fighting,
Who makes all these?
And that's why it was really important to, when I talked to those guys, that Orlando have that kind of stick up his act.
Yeah.
You have insulted me. The D'Artagnan kind of thing working. And I think Captain Jack was, will take the shortest route to anything.
Absolutely.
Least amount of energy expended.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
You're not a unicorn.
That's pure Johnny.
The eunuch line. Oh,
There's a lot of those in there. They're great. Those, all that stuff you added, I think, is really, you know, and it's still in the movie.
I was really pleased.
Mm. Oh no, it's like you have to pervert this genre, at every opportune moment.
Yeah, one must be a pirate. Dangling.
Dingle dangling. Yeah. It took quite a long time to shoot this.
What was that sequence? It was like 5 days or a week?
Didn't we? Yeah, I think we did 5 or 4 or 5, and then we came back and did the stuff on the rafters.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
After we came back from the Caribbean,
yeah,
we did this stuff.
Exactly.
But finally, I think one day you said to me, "You're just going to use this, right?"
Yeah.
So I don't need do I really need to go bash, bash, boosh, 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 bash, bash? Can I just go bash, bash? And
that was especially in with Jeffrey, because that routine I didn't know as well as I knew this one.
But it is true that you can. I mean, if you look at a great stunt team that are just aren't sort of learning lines and doing the whole movie, and they got that routine really well down. So you can kind of pop out into these great wide shots and then come in and then it is about the performance. It's about kind of finishing up something and a reaction or a great moment or a bit of dialogue or a quip or that is the most important.
Oh yeah.
Because those guys, that's what they do. I mean,
they were all amazing in terms of that. Just saying, it has to be coming from the character. Captain Jack wouldn't have the perfect stance,
Oh, Tony, I just remember the whole entire movie, Tony would look at you and kind of like, it's so funny to see him try to do it. He couldn't quite get it, but he totally tried, it was beautiful. The wobble.
He did well, Tony. Really did.
You can keep doing that forever. The dog is never going to move.
This scene, the crowd goes nuts, and then you go to London, and it's a pin drop. The dog,
because they don't get the dog.
The dog, forget
the
it.
dog reference, the ride, yeah.
The ride references, and it's so funny to have the Brits over here going, "What are people?" It's like even in the background, there's some little moment from the ride, and you got in Anaheim, they're going crazy. In Munich, they're sort of.
This moment is huge in Anaheim.
That's a smart match, miss, if it's not too bold to say.
It is a smart match.
One of the things I was thinking, that I didn't know because I was so freaked out watching it for the first time at the premiere, but every day when V did my makeup,
He's a fine man, too.
we had this little open, kind of this weird little open wound on my
I love that
jawline, and I guess you notice it here and there. This is beautiful stuff. I don't know where or how or when you shot this, but I love this stuff right here.
That's it's a Dusker Night plate and a barge driving through to create the wake, and everything else is fabricated.
Wonderful, man. Really, really great.
Very bleak.
What's that?
Jonathan Price. I mean, I suppose he just cracks me up. I don't know. I'm probably the only person laughing, but everything he does,
He
just completely.
I had difficulty, especially shooting the end, keeping a straight face. When I breathed at him, his reaction was too good.
He's so. And these guys were great, man.
Yeah.
I mean, really,
No survivor.
we did this casting.
The stories come from.
We got all these chairs, and we brought in the kind of drags of LA. I mean, bikers and out-of-work actors. People who wanted to be in movies.
Like me. The dregs, really.
And I just brought them into this kind of basement at Disney, and then, gave them, like, first we started with real weapons, and then we quickly switched to rubber because they were actually hurting each other. And they would, would say, okay, you're looking for gold. And they'd all scream and knock over chairs, and, like, we just yell something, captain's on deck, and they'd all stand at attention. And out of, like, 600, we picked 10 guys that stayed with us the entire show. So you'll see background guys changing, if we're in the Caribbean or we're in LA or whatever. But
all these guys were unbelievable, though, man. They really, as you said, they really lived it.
They brought some, it's so, you can't buy that stuff, they have to want it, and just the whole gang was just fantastic. Vince, Lee Ehrenberg, Mackenzie Crab. I always thought it's nice that the first killing in the movie is Orlando. Killed him.
Yeah, I never noticed that. Yeah. That never, ever crossed my mind. That is interesting. Yeah, the goody two-shoes.
Yeah.
Takes down the first.
Like the muzzle blast! Stephen, more oxygen! Covered.
All the stuff is so giant. I mean, having, not being involved in this stuff, once again, it was like seeing it for the first time. So shocking to me, because it just, the film never felt that large to me.
Oh, it's just every day, get up. Martin would make some coffee. We're living in the little rental down in the Caribbean. He'd make some coffee. We'd go to work. Blowing stuff up, or I mean, there's quite a few dialogue, longer dialogue scenes. The writing's good, so that was. You could feel like you'd shut back down and kind of actually be telling a story and not get into that place. I think for a 105-day shoot, you don't. There are like 60-day shoots where you're just dying to get off the movie. You're like, please, and the last 10 days, and I think really 105 days. We didn't really go bad until that scene on the beach. It was like the 105th day. It was actually pretty good spirits all the way up until.
I think so, no, because it was really I mean, I had a ball shooting that scene.
Yeah, that was good. Good fun. This is all this kind of classic stuff, but basically the feeling of the ride, I think.
Yeah.
Bit of raid and pillage. When they blew that post in half, that's I think it was the first one of our kind of long experience with the effects crew.
Oh God,
it is we blew it. They blew it up, and then the cannonball supposed to go through the post. And she's great here. And it didn't blow. It didn't. It was like, duh. It's like, well, can't we do better than that? And of course, it's the joke was, oh, now they're going to do, it's going to be way over the top because these guys have done 20 movies, all the crew and the camera watch. So we said, how much, have you added more primer cord? What have you done? Yeah, we got 3 times as much primer cord. The thing about primer cord is, depending on how you lace it, it can like be 10 times more powerful, 50 times more powerful, depending on how you wrap it. So all I remember is, and action, and then being like 4 feet further back, with a piece of board hitting my forehead. It was just this white flash. You were physically moved across the room. It was confidence installing.
Yeah, I was pretty confident that day on the beach when the barrel shot up into the sky.
At that point, though, it was surreal. I mean, at that point,
Your
kind
face.
of the go wrong factor. I mean, I just looked at you like I can't even start to say, anything. Like, okay, we're gonna fix it. I was just like, oh boy, There's no place to hide.
There's our boy Trevor.
Yeah, it's just horribly ironic. Say
Yeah.
goodbye. Trevor passed away in the post-production of the movie. Just
He's missed.
great guy. Really missed him.
Yeah, he was a good man. Really good man.
And Vince
Vince, yeah, he was
fantastic. Hey, poor bastard had to have the beard lit every day. You know,
I know.
inhaling like incense particles and dingle dangles from his beard. And
We used to
bite
tease
the
him
beard.
to change his flavor, you know.
Exactly.
Got a nog chomper, man, you know. He was really fed up, but he handled it like a champ.
You would just get ready to shoot, and then just a call would come out. Light the beard. Wait 2 minutes. I love this. This is working. That's one of my favorite shots.
It's just you and me now. It's you and old.
Michael and Trevor. You know, again, two great. Playing Kohler and Twig. Just great guy. Now, Walski, we should talk a little bit about that. Oh, the Prince of Darkness.
Darius,
Brilliant.
absolute genius, man. In my book,
Yeah, he's
the
really,
guy can do no wrong.
he's just, and it's not like he's a tweaker, you know.
No.
He just 27, 30 setups a day, and he's got great instinct.
I think Darius is a miracle. I almost couldn't believe it when we first started shooting, that he was so sort of laid back and, you know, just put the things there and you'd say, well, you want me to hit this? No, don't worry about it, man. It's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the confidence level.
No, he's a painter, and he knows. You know, he works like start with a black frame and then light where you need it, as opposed to
It's the Caravaggio way.
Yeah, saying sort of like lighting everything, and then all you have to do is start taking lights off, turning lights off.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, he's really got a great intuitive sense, and he and Martin have a great relationship too. Now that's really rare, the kind of operator cinematographer relationship where they trust each other. You know, and Martin's great because I always go like, "Hey Martin, I'm about to say we're getting a bad kick on the wine glass or something," and his hand is moving it.
Yeah.
Or an actor's leaning out of an over, and he'll just grab their hip or whatever and gently apply a little pressure to bring them back in the shot. And he's like, actors don't mind because he just has a way of saying, I may do this, I may, if you lean out of the shot, I may just touch you, during the take. And it's not like the touch that takes you out of the performance. It's like, it's really a big ballet. Nah.
Jeffrey Rush. Hector Barbosa. I used to tease him with that now and again.
I love that one thing, we named the monkey chat. Subtle. Yeah. He really, I wrote him a letter. And I said, you're my third choice for this movie. I couldn't get Alec Guinness and I couldn't get Peter Sellers. He's, I don't know who else can kind of celebrate this villainy and a kind of Wicked Witch of the North,
No, exactly.
He just really, a lot of actors I think would do it as a kind of paycheck or do it as a, not understand the kind of humor or play the humor and not understand the kind of inner angst. And I think Jeffrey sees this role like, oh, these are the good ones. Genuinely like, oh, these are the rare opportunities to do something like this. and he kind of celebrates it, it's really, and he understands at the same time the curse is basically an incredible set of blue balls.
Yeah.
10 years is a long time to have this kind of villainy, this currency you can't spend anywhere. He's hurting. I love the look when you take the apple and take a bite.
Oh yeah, sort of. Yeah.
And you can. It's like when you're Macintosh. So
I think he's beautiful in the film. I mean, he just looks beautiful. And it is the sort of Margaret Hamilton of the high seas kind of thing, you know. It's that caliber. I mean, it's that beautiful performance.
Yeah, he really owns it. You know, he owns it all. It fits into the wardrobe. Yeah, that monkey. I want to kill that monkey. I mean, that's the thing about Jeffrey. If you look at the dailies for that scene, it's basically the animal trainers going, Tara, 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 click, 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 Tara, Tara, click, click, and the monkey turning every which way, couldn't sit still, and you know, it's not even. I'm scratching off, you know, the word "and" or whatever. We got that, you know, or we got a message, you know, segment of a sentence before the monkey started to jump off his shoulder or flip him out or start to freak out because all the pirates surrounding him were really making him uncomfortable, and Jeffrey would just sit there, totally stoic, and then, you know, you have a name, Missy. Yeah. You know, he would just, once he felt the monkey stop for a second, he would just, boom, deliver that line. And we'd go, okay, got that line, next. And he would just, for 4 hours, be in that kind of performance. And there was a point halfway through, I was like, we should just start over. I should put the monkey over on like a pedestal. We'll cut to the monkey, you know. And he's like, really cool. He's like, no. This monkey's going to be good. I can handle it.
I love his jaw, his sort of, the eyes, the yellow eyes, the sort of hepatitis D eyes. Hepatitis Z.
Yeah, he's definitely, it's a great look. I mean, V is just, that's
Hard to
remember when we first met? At the funky restaurant in London?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was nice.
I thought, my initial feeling was that I've just scared this guy. He thinks I'm absolutely out of my mind.
I didn't, no, I was more like, what, how long can I keep this secret? Yeah.
The nose?
The nose.
Blue nose?
Yeah. I just remember saying it. Because I knew, well, two things. I knew the film could support, because Orlando's doing Aeroflot, you know, and the movie, and the other pirates all have rotten teeth, and they look like they're, you know, and we were talking about your whole, you know, your approach to the character. It's when you got to, like, I don't know, I think I said to you, so what is it? What, because what are you going to, I know you're going to play against your good looks. Where's the boundary? And you said, well, I think Jack doesn't have a nose. He lost his nose.
No, it's
in a sword fight.
But it got sewed back on.
Yeah, and it was blue.
And it was blue because the circulation was bad. So then, the thought being that his only real fears are not necessarily death or anything, but the common cold and pepper.
Sneezing,
yeah.
And because, you know, it would be hard to get that thing put back on.
Yeah. I just thought that would be fun, you know. But as soon as I said it, I thought, this is never going to work. even if you were game for it.
My mind immediately was going, how do I sell that? I couldn't find an angle, you know, because this was like in the infantile stages of the kind of Bruckheimer, Dick Cook experience. And, you know, back home, they're Synergy's talking about McDonald's cups and Happy Meals. And, you know, after the third bottle of wine at some restaurant in London, we're talking about the nose that's just been slashed off. And I was actually, oddly enough, quite willing to go there.
You were great about it. I mean, I knew I wanted each other.
I knew I wanted the eye, Mackenzie's eye, and it just tonally the film, you know, it really. I mean, if you look at, you know, Jack Davenport and you know, even Orlando's performance, that, you know, on their own they're really solid, and in context they're kind of fuel for you to consume.
Yeah,
in a way. I mean, if everybody was doing what you're doing in this movie, it would be a complete disaster.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? There's a kind of contrast, and
no. One question about your business, boy. There's no use going. Just go. How far are you willing to go?
There's the scab, by the way. More than anything, they were They fed the monster in Captain Jack, you know?
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, Orlando's earnestness and Jack's sort of holier than thou.
And the stealing of this ship, the Interceptor, I mean, I remember this day when the two ships separated, and I was told, okay, we're going to cut two lines. I remember they were tied together in San Pedro, and all these other lines running across, my brilliant idea, Orlando's going to cut the ropes. So I remember saying, when I say action, he cuts the ropes and the two ships separate. But there's these huge, 4-inch lines attached to the ships, and there was 5 of these big fat lines, and the Marine unit saying, we're going to let 2 of them go, okay, and then when you say action, we're going to let the other 2 go. And the ships are full of, the sails are full, and and the cameras aren't even rolling, and suddenly boats just started moving, just wind, boats just started moving, lines were stretching, and I was just like, turn over, roll camera, and Martin's looking at me, what? He's putting the camera on the head, and they just turn over because it took 4 hours to get them into position. Oh. They weren't going to come back, and the sun's going down, and we just started turning over, and it was insane. And then the line, you could hear the sound of the lines just going, and I was like, action, action, and nobody was ready, action, action, and just the sound of rope and ship and the things
that was the most frightening sound.
And I remember you saying on your microphone, you can hear, you're like, this is, what did you say? Something is horribly wrong here. This is not
Something's
good.
Not right.
Yeah,
or something.
Is this supposed to happen? Not good.
Not good. Yeah.
Not good.
It was that moment right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Right here.
Right there.
All these lines. You can see that these lines right there that are getting caught right after that moment, they were snapping, and bits of wood were flying across the frame, and one of them caught one of those pegs.
It was a belaying pin, yeah. The rope got taut. You could hear the ropes going, getting really tight, like rubber bands. And I thought, this is wrong, something's wrong. There's a tape of it somewhere. And suddenly the belaying pin snapped and just went right into my knee at full speed, and what felt like taking a ball-peen hammer to the kneecap. And it's the first thing in my life that's ever taken me off my feet.
You were out of frame. It was like somebody edited
the
shot. You were in shot, and then you were gone.
You should put that on the DVD, man. I got the recording. You got the...
It's unbelievable. Yeah, we should actually put that together, because you just dropped to the floor. And
gone.
6 inches higher, and...
oh, boy.
Ooh.
Yeah, thank God I've got 2 kids.
Yeah. Game over. But
it was.
I think that was the beginning of our whole sort of, oh boy, this movie's gonna, when you hit the ground running, making a movie like this in under a year, and you're improvising. I mean, thank God you're all right. I mean, that could have been really ugly.
It could have been ugly, but it turned out all right. That was actually right. The moment just off of that was when I drove the ship for the first time, Lady Washington.
And you had to just stand and you couldn't walk. I said, are you all right? And you're like, as long as I don't have to move. And then they put you at the wheel.
Yeah.
And then I'm yelling, okay, crew, duck down. Bring the ships closer.
I had no idea. It was like suddenly the crew it was like roll, and then the crew, everybody hit the deck, and I was the only one standing next to the wheel.
And you're driving, 160-foot vessel with the sails up. I don't think you'd been to sailing school.
No, I hadn't. I'd missed that section of my training.
And it must be.
I remember you screaming from the boat, far, far away, going, closer to us, come closer to us.
Yeah. We had to do that close drive-by.
Yeah.
Captain Brad.
What an amazing, amazing group of people. An incredible group of people.
They brought that ship, that's the Lady Washington out of Seattle, and they brought that vessel. We went up and saw the ship. They brought it to L.A. We painted it, added a few things. Brian Morris, designed it as the Interceptor, and Derek Hill and the guys painted it up nicely, and they brought it all. They'd never been out of Puget Sound, the ship, ever.
Good Lord.
And they brought it down to L.A., And then we shot for a little bit, and then we sent them off to the Caribbean. So we'll meet you in the Caribbean in 60 days.
And the Panama Canal.
That's the adventure. I mean, these guys, they do these reenactments, but they're the real thing, you know. They really sailed that, and they broke a mast, and they ended up in Colombia doing repairs, and I just remember getting emails from these guys, and they've got some footage, and it should be on the DVD, that's just outrageous.
Yeah. What's fantastic also is that they keep that the old school thing, you know, the captain is the captain, the first mate is the first mate. They bark out the commands, everybody repeats the commands. It was really...
We had a great team of advisors.
Yeah.
I don't know, when I was a kid and I went to this, I don't know if it was part of your upbringing, but for me, we used to drive up to San Diego and go to the Pirates of the Caribbean, and it kind of freaked me out. I mean, to be honest with you, as a 6-year-old, it was like scary and funny.
Yeah.
You know, and if there's anything to take from the ride, I think it's that.
Yeah.
Combination of, you know, not kind of perverse sense of humor.
Jack, feeling lucky.
Oh, man. It's so interesting, you know, Jerry would always laugh at the slaps. Like, it tells you something about him. But we would sit and screening after screening, and, you know, we've seen it 100 times, myself and the editor and 4 other guys, you know.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the movie that's funny to us anymore. We've ground the thing to a pulp, so we'd watch it, and Flap would come, he would break out laughing. Every time. I'm not quite sure what that says. But.
This was an interesting night. The waiting for the pigs to settle down.
Yes.
Wasn't there one giant one at a certain point?
Yeah, they hijacked the production. The pigs, we'll have to come back. They need their rest.
Yeah.
But what? We had to like reshift everything over to the bar scene, come back like 3 hours later at 4 and the sun's rising, and then sneak, you know, Kevin would have to sneak up next to them so that he was there ready for the first splash.
Yeah, I remember the whole thing, like doing the stick really low and...
Don't wait. The pigs.
Pigs.
This is what I love about Kevin, too, though. I think when his character enters the movie, there's that, you know, I can't think of anybody better to kind of tell us the backstory.
No.
You know?
Because you had that kind of, it was one of those nights, you know, yeah.
Exactly. You're waiting for the little warbly dissolve.
Right.
He's phenomenal.
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, totally.
Good actor, man.
Yeah, this is a fun scene. There's a whole ending of this that's probably going to be in the deleted scenes section where Orlando kicks over the table. Gets him a bit of a stick, isn't he?
Kid. All right, this is a fun night.
I love all this stuff you do with your
Mr. Subtle. Just breaking his neck to show him. Yeah.
Leverage says you.
It's good, and Derek really, you know, just lit the whole scene with candles. I mean, there's like candles burning your beard, your dingles.
He has the Barry Lyndon approach.
Yeah, I mean, they're just everywhere. It's nice.
It really moves, man. The film really moves. That's the one thing I really, really noticed, because you're in shock when you watch this thing for the first time. I mean, I was. The film really moves nicely.
It's a lot of stories to tell, you know, especially in this section. It's all, you know, it's a lot of exposition.
Yeah, there's a ton of subplots, and you know.
I keep it interesting. It's really tricky, but I love, like, you know, Lee and Mackenzie. These guys, I mean, they're just Pintel and Righetti. You know, there's that kind of the Wild Bunch and all even the old pirate movies. They were allowed the kind of peripheral characters to really have a whole story. Like, and you almost couldn't trust the movie because it might just suddenly follow them. You know? And it's great. You had all those character players, that were on contract, and you could just bring them into shows. And like this look,
Yeah.
it's like a vampire, seeing blood.
He's just arrived.
I felt like,
Wasn't it like the first day of shooting? Or something?
Yeah, it was the first day of shooting, and all the, everything's on wires and moving around the ship. But he really, he really just wants to watch her eat because he can't taste. And when he finally goes for the apple, it's like he's had his whole plan to but he can't wait any longer. After 2 bites, he's immediately going for the apple.
It's poisoned.
There would be no sense to be killing you, Miss Turner.
Then release me. You have your drink.
He's really great.
Oh, he's so good.
He just wears you down as a director. I mean, just calls you. And it's his love of what he does that is the reason. But he just calls you on the weekend. I'm home, cell phone. I was thinking about this line. It's like I'm in the supermarket, or whatever.
Yeah.
Looking at the frozen peas section. It's like Jeffrey Rush. Yeah, I was working on this one line, and I was thinking, he's just, he's really into, and that's why it was great to have Ted and Terry on, because at some point, I had to go off and make the movie, and we'd have a discussion, and they're like the wordsmiths.
Yeah.
So they just carve out, a better way of saying this, or a better way of saying that. And they were really open to kind of all of your, what was nice is, the ad-libs weren't really, all the stuff that you were doing and that Jeffrey's doing, that's really in the scene, all of that performance. It's, a shift of the eyes, a longer pause here, a moment, or kind of double take. But most of the ad-libs I found were 2 days before the scene or a day before the scene, those guys would write them in. They a lot of the stuff ended up on the page because, you would pitch it or we would talk about it. And
they were great about that stuff.
And they were like, great, and they would just put it in.
Incorporating everything,
And then the stuff that they didn't like, we just did it anyway.
Well, I remember there were moments when we...
You get the look from Ted. I'm sure that, I was thinking of calling him a eunuch. I think that one ended up in the script.
No, they didn't put that on the page. And then when I did it again, in the later scene with Barbosa.
Oh, it wasn't even worth discussing. We just telling me. It was like, let's just get it in. But we were gonna do the snip somewhere else too.
That was there.
Yeah.
No. As a matter of fact, you're right. That was somewhere else. Yeah, because I wanted to say to Orlando something about having a lovely singing voice.
No, but that's there. Lovely singing voice unit.
No, but to Orlando, I was going to say something. Oh, no, it wasn't the lovely singing voice. It was going to be the. Did it hurt? Did what hurt? Yeah. Snip. Well, there's always the sequel.
He just would look at me like,
why?
Why does he just make fun of me? Does he really think that, or is it?
I'm curious. After killing me, what is it you're planning on doing next?
Your stuff is so shocking, though. I mean, to see it.
Great, yeah. And what's great is you see Pintel and Rigetti, you see the faces of these guys. I mean, retaining the performance in a CGI character was so essential. Shooting all this stuff with the real actors, and then holding the animators, Hal and John at ILM, holding them to those performances. They're really good about that. I think they really would study the actor's performance and kind of take everything from it, There's Trevor. And you can really, you can tell who's who. The thing about skeletons is so
totally
quickly you just kind of go, what? Who's that guy? And they all look the same. It's like people in spacesuits on the moon or something. If they don't have a number 2 on their back, you hear voices, you don't know who's talking. And this scene with Jeffrey, we actually was adamant about keeping his eyes, because it's the one thing. You can take a sphere and put a glint in it and make a highlight and put flesh around it on a computer, but it's hard to convey a thought, that sort of behind the eyes, what's going on behind the eyes. And so this is a scene where those are still his eyes. And the same thing in your close-up.
So those are actually our eyeballs.
Yes, color treated, to match into the scene. But because if you just completely go computer generated, you lose that. I think that's the thing that that
seems Jeffrey's skeleton with a nose. Really, just decaying meat.
That was an early decision to try to remind ourselves of who he is. Plus, the big issue is lip sync with no lips. It's kind of a problem.
Yeah,
that was a nightmare. Marty,
the banana.
Yeah, you were pissed off at me this day.
We were having a bad day.
No, but I felt like we got over our issues after the second take.
Yeah, we were okay.
Fortitude to follow orders and stay true in the face of danger and almost certain death. Mr. Cotton! Answer, man.
He's a mute, sir. Poor devil had his tongue cut out, so we trained the parrot to talk for him. No one's yet figured how.
Mr. Cotton's parrot. Same question.
Mostly we figured that means yes.
Of course it does. Satisfied?
Well, you've proved they're mad.
And what's the benefit for us?
But I love this scene. It's just really...
It was a fun scene to shoot, actually. I was trying to be mad the whole day, but it was a fun scene to shoot.
Oh, it's in the, no matter what happens between takes, that's what's so great. It's like, this stuff's for eternity, and, you gotta, it's so nice to see you just, you're there, whatever the kind of, and this is the scene where I was screaming across the beach louder than I've never, not one to lose it very often, and I completely lost it this day because they were driving the production vehicle through our frame at sunset.
Yeah.
Just like somebody decided, let's bring the landing craft around so we can wrap 10 minutes earlier. And they just drove it right through our shot. And it moves about, half a knot in the sunset. It's just ballistic. This is great. And it's beautiful. And it's nice to have the Caribbean look in the film. It's good. It's a quick scene to shoot, too. It felt like a fun, good scene. We could do longer takes. And
God, think of this.
Yes. Again, some Howard Pyle at the wheel.
Saturated.
I remember this. This was on the wide shot was a model, of course, and then that's down in San Pedro with the just massive rain and wind machines. And
I remember I couldn't see a thing.
Oh,
I couldn't see a thing.
I couldn't see a thing either. Neither could the camera. We would just get obliterated. It's like what you're seeing here is the moments where the camera isn't completely,
drenched. It's like the Great Deluge.
Yeah, this is the kind of Ryan's daughter approach. And again, sort of not an essential scene in the movie, but a nice mosaic of gotta have the storm scene, right?
One must, yeah. But also not seeing Captain Jack for the first time really like on it, and it does play in the compass, but it's nice to set it at night and do a big storm number. Yeah.
I think that mosaic
felt very
of looks, throwing different looks at the film helps give some life to in between all that kind of exposition of, because we're still very much in the kind of backstory section of the movie, explaining how you got off the island, explaining the curse, explaining this is really that whole section.
You're right. There are a million different stories to tell. I mean, there's so many different stories to tell.
But really,
And servicing each one is really
it's complicated.
very, very complicated, very difficult.
And it's nice to change when you're kind of burdened with that as a filmmaker. It's nice to change locations and change looks and change, go from the moonlight serenades to the bright tropical setting to the storm and then to the fog, and because it's a lot to ask an audience to sit and listen. It's a great shot.
Now, what is this all about? I mean, how was that done?
It's a completely synthetic model shot.
Totally, the whole shot.
Yeah, the foreground elements are practical model miniatures, and then it's a dry for wet, and then the sharks were added from stock footage, and that's a lot of different things.
It's a really beautiful shot.
I like when you close the compass and David's look to you, cotton.
Oh yeah, cotton.
The teensy flies.
Failed to mention that. I'll place things closer to the vest now. A hard learn.
This was nice. This was one of several scenes that didn't exist until we started to. That's what's nice about having Ted and Terry on the run of the picture. It's like you can get, where your problem, that they had an outline, then the script came in, we were already scheduling one draft, and then they would incorporate storyboards or ideas that came out of storyboards, like your ship sinking at the beginning and the eyeball and things like that, and then this.
Orlando's impression on me.
Which actually I thought worked out much better than having the thing explained. Ultimately, I mean, I think the note that we need to explain why Jack Sparrow is perpetually drunk.
I was totally shocked.
Ask the question and not have the answer, really. Because the perfect.
I was shocked that you left in from my back. I mean, it's just the fact that lived in the final product. Is really, really great.
It's, tried it without it and missed it. It's one of those things. You just
seemed like it needed that bit,
Definitely.
A little button.
No, you have really good instincts.
Pressed them together and made a raft.
He wrote a couple of sea turtles.
And this whole thing with the turtles.
The sea turtle, yeah.
Those guys are great, I mean, Ted and Terry are really great because you can kind of present the issue, present the problem, and you get pages the next morning. That's what's amazing.
Oh,
you're like, where should we work? I'm like, use my trailer. I'm never there. There's my trailer.
Or they were
computer set up
on the ball as they could be. I mean, they were incredible.
I've never worked like that. I've never had, writers on throughout the entire production. I mean, we didn't have a choice because the entire movie was, made in 11 months. But they really, they were psyched. I mean, they'd never been on set. They'd never been allowed on set before.
Really?
They were always kept at arm's length, and they were just so,
That's interesting.
Like children, just kind of really enjoying being around and seeing things. I would do it again at any moment.
Yeah. I found it really, really helpful.
Yeah.
Because there's things, or look on the page, may work beautifully on the page, but when it comes out into the atmosphere, it could take on a whole different thing. And to have them there to make changes on the spot was really something.
They made so many. I mean, they made, whole structural changes. The ending of the movie was, written, I think, halfway through the, a lot of stuff that came out of storyboards and action sequences and the skeletons. And
didn't we shoot this scene twice?
I
feel like we shot it twice.
Yes, we did. You know why? Because the underwater shot, this section here with the gold,
that was
camera problems, completely out of focus, and so we did this. That I think part of this section we did twice. Yeah.
That's not true.
And I like this. This is all built on the stage 2 at Disney, and
I really think they should have left that set.
No treasure in silver.
It was such a
I'm
beautiful,
sure they're kicking themselves now.
giant sculpture. Just a beautiful, it was so beautiful.
I love this kind of ritual and progress.
Has proved his mettle 100 times over.
And again, just good words. I mean,
Yeah.
they really, and it was very important to me to cast as many Brits as possible because of in looking at the genre and saying, why hasn't it worked? I found a lot of sort of dialect that felt like it wasn't really that Robert Louis Stevenson, the black spot. It didn't have any of that kind of pirate flavor that was, out of the pile and the Treasure Island and all that stuff. It seemed to be that stuff kind of went away in some way. And these guys, here it is. And it was nice to, in that, if you look at the movie, Barbossa's the only one really doing the hard R.
Yeah.
The R.
Yeah, the Robert Newton sort of.
Yeah, which
inspired.
is great. I think it's nice that.
It's a nice homage. I mean, it's a nice salute, back to that. And to the genre, I mean, to the.
And you're doing, I don't know what you're doing, Pepe Le Pew, and you got something really, a unique mixture happening there.
And whose blood must yet be paid? The first thing I'm going to do after the curse is lifted. Eat all but that.
Look how into it these guys were. They were so into it.
Really, that is, people underestimate casting of your extras.
Oh, it made
so
all the difference here.
Because they don't get paid very much. It's not a great job.
No, I don't know.
You got to find people who really want to do it and just realize it's, it's fun.
Oh, these guys were having a ball, man. Looking at those coins, I keep thinking of Chuck.
Oh,
Chuck.
Those
prop master, prop maestro.
Angry man.
Genius.
Just angry man.
Just brilliant and hilarious. And
so funny.
Him
and everybody
sort of policing. Yeah.
Oh, there was, because again, it's like not finishing the boat and having the 2 porta potties, and that had to be painted out in all the shots. I love that moment. You can't have 800 coins. You can have, 42. So we're like constantly, putting them closer together to make it look like the box is full of medallions. I love how he spits. He spits when he talks.
Yeah.
Was your father William Turner?
No.
Where's his child? The child that sailed from England 8 years ago. The child in whose veins flows the blood of William Turner. Where?
And Kira's right there. Isaac.
Yeah.
He's just a beautiful, beautiful human being.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
She's a proper age.
It's amazing, man. But really, I mean, just watching the thing and seeing all these people again, this cast.
Michael was
really perfectly cast.
It's such a, Trevor, such a bouillabaisse, it's like you got your kind of, your clams, and you need your, you need your garlic, and you need all your kind of ingredients, and you don't want too much of one thing.
No, you've got a wide variety there.
Any coward here dare challenge me, let him speak.
Phineas, Blondie back there with his dreads, and after you'd wrap, they would just leave all the dirt on their faces and go, have some beer.
Yeah.
And they would go around St. Vincent, and all the locals would go, pirate. Really great bunch.
Listen.
We had like 6 Michaels on this movie, 3 Trevors. And I love that walk. This is just
Confused.
just completely delirious.
You're supposed to be dead.
Am I not?
Yeah, this was the mayonnaise moment.
Yeah, the endless ad lib. This is really fun.
Hello,
Oh, there's
The
also
mayonnaise and the
what was the Verdi Num Num? What was it?
partner. Howdy, partner.
Howdy, partner. Howdy.
That would be the French. That's. I don't think anybody realized the political context of that one.
No, it didn't exist at that point, did it? I was just basically, we were doing the scene and I was sort of waiting for Gore to cut and it just didn't come. So, Lee and I just kept going and started talking about, the French and inventors of mayonnaise and that they had nice singing voices because they were all eunuch.
Mackenzie said, I dated a eunuch once.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, that's when I pulled the fast show line, yeah. I'll get me coat, yeah.
Yeah, that was good fun. There's some stuff with Jonathan Pryce in the same way. I just let him ramble at the door. And he's going,
there's that great one.
He's going, and then, 18 years earlier, and then I got a job on Pirates of the Caribbean. They never stopped shooting. The woman with 3 breasts. The gym. I met a Russian gymnast.
Oh,
with
yeah.
3 breasts. Now, when I first cut the movie together, it was, twice as long as it is now. And, I felt like we were in good shape because this scene, the film's, it's about this, Captain Barbossa, and you talk about him, and, people talk about you, and there's this whole kind of, you used to be the captain of the ship and mutinous mate and everything, and there's this impetus to kind of see the two of you together, and it's such a simple scene. It's just, standing on that bit of beach in the cave, but it's, the whole film kind of crosses right there.
Yeah.
It's a big crisscross. You're stuck with them, she's back with him. And you could feel the whole energy of the film kind of, and you guys together are great.
Was that our first bit together? Yeah, that was our first moment together in the film.
No, the scene in the ship, the negotiation. We ate the apple. That was
the first thing we shot.
Yeah.
Getting to know the character and suddenly it's dive in, folks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in that scene. I think it worked out really well. It was quite a bit longer initially. As written,
Yeah.
You're commenting on his ship. Something like, I haven't taken care of my ship. But it didn't really work because it actually looked kind of nice in there.
Yeah.
One thing below when you say, I think there's a leak. But his cabin is actually...
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
I think on the page it read one way, and then once Derek got all the candles and everything working for the dinner scene, it was obviously not going to work that same way. And these two,
these little scenes that they have together are really, really, really nice. Really,
they're beautiful.
Yeah, heartfelt. I mean, they make it. It was just great on screen together.
These are always tricky because it's it's so close to melodrama.
Yeah, but I think that's the kind of beauty is just hovering in the arena, and not scraping against it. But that's the challenge.
It's
that's
hard to pull off.
Yeah,
please don't.
Yeah,
almost up there with "I'm having your baby."
Yeah, yeah.
But it is his big epiphany moment, and the returning the dingus.
Yeah, here's the first day. My first day of shooting.
Me standing on some beach with naught but a name and your...
It's interesting because you look a little cleaner than the rest of the movie. I think we got a little more. I think it's after your meeting with Dick Cook and Jerry.
It was immediately after, yeah.
After the three front gold teeth, or two. How many went away? Two
went away, and then I secretly added one. But the two that went away were the ones that I put on to use as bartering material.
It's a very important tactic, I think.
Yeah, it worked.
This is pretty much how. That's one of those things that just comes up on the day.
Yeah, it just sort of happened in the moment. Yeah.
No, we should just, and then we'll have a shot through the telescope. Your bad breath, fogging the lens.
Yeah, looking at the breath, yeah.
But I think the only way we really made this schedule, if you think about, water movies and the big disasters, you getting two ships lined up is a 6-hour endeavor just to have, one ship in front of the other like this, so we would shoot this and this, I got to hand it to Bruce. This is second unit, that bow crashing through the waves, and nice job, Bruce. You would just put the Black Pearl in the background, and vice versa. If we're on the Interceptor, we'd put, on the Black Pearl, we'd put the Interceptor as a model comp in the background. Just by the time you're, okay, a little to your left, we'd be there for months, and I think in a way, technology has allowed the kind of epic genre to return, whether it's 6,000 men on horseback that you can't afford to, now you can have 50 men on horseback and then digitally create another 6,000.
Multiply.
And for a long time, that just went to animation. Cell animation was the only place you'd see those epics. And now with the kind of photoreal animation.
Apparently there's a leak.
This is one of the ones that storyboarded, then rewritten, storyboarded, rewritten. The guys were really great about that. I'd show them like little sketches and then just finding, we'd had thousands of cards out on the table. Like, okay, so when is Jack get thrown into the brig, and when does he see the boat turn, and when does he come back out, and Orlando's got to get stuck below, and they're really great about that. You can just like lay it all out, and shuffle it around. And then, of course, in the edit room, you change it all anyways. Once you see it and go, what were you thinking?
I loved your storyboards. I loved that whole kind of giant storyboard thing that followed you wherever you went on the set.
It's really nice to, if you completely storyboard a movie, I think you neuter possibilities for happy accidents.
Yeah.
You really...
That's a great way of putting it. It's exactly that, yeah.
You completely going to become clinical and, you have to kind of...
If you've seen the movie, why shoot it, yeah.
Yeah. Everything, for me, it's a bore. It's just work. It's like you might as well sell real estate or something for a living. If you take all the creative juice out. And there's something nice about in the morning, sketching up stuff, your coverage, and then putting up on a big board so that everybody can see it. Why hide?
It was...
You could walk by and go, oh yeah, so that's when he'll see my close-up on that line. And, anybody can look at it and kind of get a sense of what the day's work is, and then you can quickly change it if it's like the wind is blowing the wrong direction.
Many times when it changed,
that's what's amazing about, I think, this film is that you've got 600 people, and just to go to like the extras wardrobe tent and see all these kind of, these Brits that have flown in and have been up since 1 a.m, getting all these people in, wigs and everything.
Yeah.
And you never see them on the set. They're back, you're 8 miles out to sea, and they're like sequestered in the kind of soccer field with their huge tent. But then to somehow stay fluid at the same time, to stay incredibly fluid. And I think it's out of the chaos factor just makes you kind of have to, shuffle the deck always.
Yeah.
The deck shuffling. Well, that's not going to work. We'll move to this, and then we'll rethink that. That shot turned
Amazing. This whole sequence is really shocking. Just cinematically, and just the way you pulled it off, the way you were able to pull the whole turning of the ship.
I mean, there's so much of this is like little pieces were shot on stage at the Spruce Goose hangar, those cannon shots. And then...
look at this. It's giant, man. I had no idea.
This is where you feel like you're directing traffic, not directing a movie. At some point. And at the same time, I look over at Peter Cohn, who's on another boat, and he just looks back at me smiling like...
That's fantastic.
Work is great. He looks back at me like he's a 9-year-old kid going, what a great sandbox.
Yeah. But at a certain point, when you're shooting that kind of thing, I mean, that level of insanity, I mean, action just becomes...
You're just praying.
Okay.
Yeah, you're praying nobody gets hurt.
Okay, whatever, really, right? I mean...
Yeah. I mean, well, to be honest, George Rugi, our stunt coordinator, really choreographed some great stuff. And he was, I must say, we kind of, I think, coined two interesting terms in this movie, which are sort of visual effects ad lib and stunt ad lib.
Yeah.
Hey George, can you give me about a bit of doo and like 3 guys falling in the water? Sure. Do I have 5 minutes? It was
right.
It was the whole movie.
But things that you would ask for after they'd rehearsed for months.
Yeah.
Or a specific and precise routine that needed to be, as you say, things. You had to shift around a little bit here and there. On the go. And these guys be like, okay, give me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
After
they were
months of rehearsal.
I know. I was just getting you out of the water in the ending. I mean, that was like, it's like, we need something big, really big, like flying up launched out of the water, landing on the deck. He's like, oh boy, how am I going to do that with no money, no time, no rehearsal?
This was fantastic. That dropping. Was that Jeffrey or was that Thomas?
That's Jeffrey.
That was Jeffrey.
But it's a split. We dropped the mask and had him there separately. That was a sort of George Patton moment.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, it's exactly what's the moment in Apocalypse? Duvall.
Yeah.
As bombs are splitting around.
Yeah. You can surf.
Yeah.
You can fight. You can surf. Yeah. And these guys, take after take, screaming. These guys, really great. I remember the whole discussion about Orlando. You're not going to trap Orlando below during the whole fight. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But he's a great sword fighter. He should be out there sword fighting.
I think it's very smart to tie the character's hands once again.
Absolutely. I think it's much more dramatic to have him not be able to... I mean, at some point, sword fighting is sword fighting. There's plenty of sword fighting in the movie.
There's plenty. Yeah, there's plenty.
And it's also his kind of, it's his catharsis. It's his death and resurrection as a
The shot is reversed.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I noticed.
Well, what happened there was the ship didn't cooperate with us because you coming up from the stairs geographically is on one side.
I see.
But the entire sequence is the other side of the line. And even though we crossed the line and come back, at the end of the day, it was too many people were confused. So I just said, let's just flop that shot, keep you consistently right, and the interceptor consistently left.
Works well.
Yeah,
no one would notice, I don't think.
Oh, there are whole websites dedicated to finding the mistakes.
Yeah.
And believe me,
there's one, folks.
I can point out 14 you're never going to notice. There are grips and shots, with hands on, There's these guys with the barrels, the water agitator guys,
Oh, this was a fun moment.
The monkey. That's a great ad lib. Monkey.
That was fun.
I
was just waiting for you to say, can you not say monkey?
Why?
You never did.
No, I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect. And I love that shot too. It's the two monkeys.
Tony, bless him.
Yeah. Right.
Well, thank you. You're welcome. Not you. We named the monkey.
That monkey performance is not a composite. That's just dumb luck.
Yeah, just on the money.
Back in the tank.
Was it in the tank down in,
Yeah.
the hell were we? Wherever
Long
it was.
Beach.
Long Beach.
Yeah. It's, you can go through this. Caribbean, Long Beach, Spruce Goose Hangar, stage 2. This sequence was shot. Basically, the entire length of the movie would pick up a piece. Small set piece here, set piece there.
What a puzzle, man.
Any of you so much as thinks the word parlay, I'll have your guts for
He was very, very good.
Yeah, he's great. He was really worried about his accent, and I think he delivered really nicely. Kept consistent. He's really dedicated. Big composite.
You took advantage of our hospitality last time. It holds fair now. You return the favor.
And this was, I think, the most fun. Look at these guys.
Yeah.
It's one of those. You tell Kira one thing, and then you tell the guys another thing.
Yeah, right.
She goes free.
What's in your head, boy?
She goes free.
I love the stuff you do in this scene, though. Really great. And again, it really, you got like 4 you don't know.
Yeah, this was
The sun's going down.
We didn't know where the cameras were.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, okay, go.
Well, the schedule's insane. You're just hosing it, You have the specific shots, and then you've just got kind of, thank God we always had 100 mil on you. Just getting those things. But I could tell, because if you look at the dailies, you're kind of, there are moments, and then you're always doing something, But there seem to be these great little peaks, carving out because.
Lost to Davy Jones' locker.
Name your terms, Mr. Turner.
Elizabeth goes free.
Yes, we know that one. Anything else?
And Jeffrey's great. Mackenzie, it's just a great group. I mean, these like 4 shots and 7 shots, with these faces.
Agreed.
Oh yes, the island.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's when. I think that was when everything was peaking. Really.
Go for you lying bastard. You swore she'd go free.
Don't dare impugn me on her, boy. I agreed she'd go free, but it was you who failed to specify when or where.
Oh, the island, the reefs. I love that. The boat. The locals are going, no, bad.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. Reefs, And the marine unit's going, no, we got GPS. We know where every reef is.
And all the torches, all the flashlights were on one boat.
It's safe. I just love that. Is it safe? Oh yeah, it's safe. And Kira ended up with her mom
Floating.
bless her soul, on a reef, stuck on a reef at pitch black.
Crazy.
That's they don't sail around there at night.
No,
They just don't.
they're smart.
Yeah, exactly. They were laughing at us. And the poor guys, the marine, the guys driving the ships were going, I sure could use a local, looking at his GPS going, I don't feel good about this. Can't we just get a local guy on every boat, because they've got this stuff down. Petite Tabac.
Petit Tabac. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, this is, again, a lot of painting out of sailboats and tourists. That's the big, crime, is that you can't find a deserted island on this planet anymore. There's a hotel, or it's a tourist site.
Yeah, it's pretty rare.
They just don't exist. And, national parks don't like you burning their palm trees.
Yeah, apparently there's a problem with that.
Yeah.
It's not welcome.
Well, we brought in our own. Did the rest of it. Again, nice dive.
Another nice dive by Tony Angelotti. Thank you very much.
I'm putting the longer version of this island scene on the DVD because there's some great stuff with it. I love the stuff you do with the ball, putting the ball in the gun when you're drawing out all your gunpowder and
right.
It's really nice. That and the scars, I think, are really great.
Oh, I just forgot about the scars. Yeah,
really good. We had to make a lot of deep cuts here because, and it's something that Ted and Terry and I discussed at length. You basically have reached the point of the film where you know everything you need to end the movie, and you've got 40 minutes left. And,
oh Lord, really?
And I think if we could do it all again, we would learn something. And I mean, we learn about Jack and how he got off the island. I love this jumping and the walk and the knocking on the tree. This is really. I thought we had a good time here.
We had a ball. I had a ball. This scene is probably the one that sticks out to me as the most.
It works
fun just because it was Jack really exposed for the first time,
completely deconstructed.
Yeah,
and the jacket's off, the hat's off.
Yeah,
the myth is gone.
Yes, for the moment, he can
completely evaporated, and
she was so good. She was so good in this.
She's great. But structurally, I mean, this is where you would want to learn something that changed the third act.
Yeah.
That's my only criticism of the script in general, is that I wish that somehow on this little cul-de-sac here on this island, that some knowledge was gained that fundamentally changed how the entire third act played out. And it worked in a purely kind of, even though it shouldn't, it works because you guys are so good. I mean, it works. Normally, I think you can't take a summer movie and stop right here and just do character work. It's best. It's plot.
Yeah,
plot.
I remember you saying at a certain point, like that early on, you thought the scene didn't fit.
It's not that it didn't fit. It's just as written, it was like 8.5 minutes longer.
Right, something that just suddenly the momentum is.
I think it's actually good to take a dip.
After
the ship-to-ship battle, it's great to take a dip.
Yeah.
It's great to slow things down.
The entire ocean, the entire world.
But it's not, I mean, I think as it turned out, compressed, and you get the important bits, and why is the rum gone?
Yeah. Which is the important bit, yeah. Why is the rum gone?
And this is beautiful. That's a beautiful take. And God, we shot this on the island. We shot this in Malibu. We shot this on the stage.
Yeah.
Little pieces everywhere.
Company is infinitely better than last time.
Father Time holding a 17-year-old girl. And that's what I felt like. It was like Methuselah.
Yeah. Nice.
Putting my arm around this innocent teenager.
Well, I think that's the beauty about the characters. He honestly believes he's going to get lucky.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like, things are not so bad. We got the ship's gone. That's what I love. And it's that honesty that makes the kind of, it never would have worked between us.
Even attempted to spruce himself up, twisting and twirling his mouth. Poor bastard.
That's really good. That's the heart of the scene. And it was nice to have, the two of us taking on the entire special effects department.
God.
Tempers were hot,
Oh, yeah.
And it was nice to,
We were soaring for a moment.
You had my back, Jack.
I always have your back. Always have your back, brother.
That was really nice.
Always.
Just, everybody was like, oh, this is ugly. And you were just right there.
You burned all the food, the shade, the rum.
Yes, the rum is gone.
Why is the rum gone?
One, because it is a vile drink that turns even the most...
I just
jumped right in.
Believe that the guy had spoken to you. It was just...
It was nice. Everybody was just kind of
bizarre.
Oh, weird scene.
Weird scene, rap.
But why is the rum gone?
Just wait, Captain Sparrow. You give it 1 hour, maybe 2, keep a weather eye open, and you will see white sails on that horizon.
I love that performance right there.
Pulling himself back together.
Just brilliant.
Look at that. background is amazing.
Yeah. John Knoll, ILM, did a really great job with that.
There'll be no living with her after this.
But we've got to save Will!
No! You're safe.
There's that wig.
And it's good. I mean, I think it's nice at this point in the movie to feel these guys returning into the story. You know, I always felt like, okay, now we're back.
No, you do. You miss them.
To prevent anything from happening to me!
If I may be so
Man, Angus.
Yeah.
Like, I can watch the whole movie and just watch him.
I know.
Yeah, at some point.
I want to watch.
I love this, the bad breath thing again.
Oh, the last real pirate threat in the Caribbean, mate.
Jack's.
I mean, Jack's breath is like just a donkey's ass. It's just beautiful.
For me, as a wedding gift.
Elizabeth.
She's great. She's just.
Yeah, this was a fun moment.
She's just there.
I am.
Wedding. I love weddings. Drinks all around.
It's really a joy to talk about, all the little things.
Yeah.
You know, with Jack Davenport, with Jonathan Pryce, with Keir, what's going on, and with your character kind of. This is not a bad shit. Maybe I can work it. I feel like the new plan's kind of developing.
Make myself clear.
Oh, look.
That's why such a rare thing. Because the thing is rich in characters. Everybody's very, very specific. And paired off perfectly, Mackenzie and Lee, Pintel and Rigetti, and
Murtaugh and Mulroy. It's like I felt like Murtaugh and Mulroy was like
Jonathan,
Laurel and Hardy, and these guys are Laurel and Hardy on acid.
Yeah,
they're like the, you don't want put them together, and it's like matter and antimatter. It's something. Oh man, I can watch him forever. And the makeup is really, really great. Makeup, lighting, really just great faces.
That didn't sit too well with the captain at all. Tell him what Barbosa did.
Telling a story.
Those two.
Yeah, it's like Archie Bunker and Edith Bunker. These two.
Yeah, they're a couple of an old married couple. They've spent a lot of time together.
Lee's makeup is fantastic.
Charlie Gibson, our visual effects supervisor, went to high school with Lee, finished the entire movie, saw the credits, finally when the credits were done, and said, Lee Ehrenberg, is he in this movie? I went to high school with him. And I'm like, dude, you've been staring at him, fixing Rigetti's eye for months, digitally, putting in the wooden eye, you don't know it?
Yeah, no,
that's him?
I don't care for the situation.
Those telescope shots were really, spent a lot of time. There's some guys at Method, good friends of mine who, these French guys, and they spent hours looking at old telescopes and the distortion and stuff.
Also, like the cake dirt around the edges. Really nice. Nice touch.
Dislocation.
Oh my god.
3 divers in the water trying to hold the boat off the rocks.
So we didn't crash into the rocks. And they did.
Alex. I know, they're just sacrificing their bodies.
That was very good, no?
He's very good, Damien O'Hara. Yeah, I think we got lucky on a lot of these parts. Just first choices all the way around.
Isn't that incredible?
Meet a guy, you want to do the movie? Sure. Boom. It's great.
Amazing. Jeffrey with that apple.
Apple.
Always the apple.
Nice.
That's a sort of a beautiful through line for him, that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the one thing he has is this, just once taste.
Yeah.
Wants to taste again.
Yeah.
To feel.
But again, these are things that are so clear. I mean, so well written,
One arm extra. Yeah, I mean, they really, Ted and Terry, I think, really are great at connecting the dots. I think it's
The guy,
Nice.
the guy breaking up the game show.
Where's Elizabeth?
Which,
She's safe.
No, me.
oh, yeah.
Captain
Come
Jack stepping in,
Oh.
you know.
It's like The Graduate or something.
Yeah.
Banging on the glass, yeah.
Of our word, really. Except for Elizabeth, who is in fact a woman.
That's the reintroduction of your character. It was quite...
You don't want to be doing that, mate.
And the two of you together, I mean, I just feel like there's all this history.
Yeah.
You know, really feel like, I mean, he hates you more than anything, and you hate him even more than that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, and the games you guys play.
Just offshore.
And I think, yeah, I mean, these two characters know each other really, really well. And hate each other, but need each other.
Yeah.
So there's a nice, there's a lot of, or many layers.
But you guys, without spending a lot of time together, I mean, you guys just, you know.
It felt pretty clear. I mean,
on screen, it was like, you know, you'd look at each other in the eye and it was all there.
This was the night that Giles had his kid, I think. He was out in the middle of the water.
That's right. Yeah, we tried to fly him back.
And his baby was born this night.
I feel so horrible about that. We got Mackenzie back for the birth of his child, but we couldn't get Giles back.
Yeah.
I hope his wife forgives him.
There you are with two ships. The makings of your very own fleet. Of course, you'll take the Grandest as your flagship, and who's to argue?
Great negotiation.
And now Jack can be clear.
I just love the way you have. It's such a compliment.
Savvy?
I suppose in exchange you wanted me not to kill the whelp.
No, it's all by all means. Kill the whelp.
Kill the whelp. I loved that line. Now, by all means, kill the whelp.
This thing coming up with you taking the coin, this was never in the... Originally, it was just going to be throwing the coins back and then hearing the extra one, you know, pink. And we had it cut that way for the longest time, and people were really genuinely confused as to, did you have that coin from the beginning? Were you always a skeleton? How come we just never shown that you were in Moonlight? Did you know? And even though you've never been to the island before, because you're mutinied, it really threw a lot of doubt in the audience's mind. So we actually looked at the footage. We didn't even do a reshoot. We looked at the footage, and there was one where we actually reversed a little shot and slowed it down.
Where the was palming.
Yeah, palming it, and we put the music in there to signify it, and it really helped.
Apologies. You give the orders.
Because it was the other issue became apparent was the whole kind of how the curse functioned, and that you could, I think...
Very tricky deal, man.
Yeah. Well, it was really tricky how we had the kind of multiple curses going on, and you created your own curse, but it was different than their curse. And I think once we got both coins going back in the chest, I mean, the intuitive response from the audience is when the coins are returned, the curse is over. And as written, there was always the other coin is still out there. And they've all returned, but you're still a skeleton.
Right.
And we had to do that whole fix-it job. I think I'd like to put that on the missing scenes too, even though I don't have your performance as skeletal, but I love the moment where it's not a bad look, really.
Oh, that one, yeah.
I mean, beautiful performance. I really wanted to see that as skeletal Jack. This is all dry for wet. We're crying the green screen, composite work. I can't believe I got away with this in a Bruckheimer movie. I remember them going to Penny Rose going, okay, so when am I going to see the dresses? And she's like, no, they killed the dresses. I'm like, what do you mean they killed the dresses?
Oh, really?
Well, the dresses, they told me not to make the dresses. I said, Penny, I need the dresses. It's in the script. It's part of the thing. We've been working on this for a long time. I said, don't worry, I've made them anyway.
Bless her heart.
She's so great.
Moment, please.
I think that's one of those things Jerry was just kind of, are you sure about the umbrellas and the dresses? Mm. Yes, the umbrella motif. Well, the moonlight and the shadow. This has been really difficult to do the whole kind of moonlight and shadow thing, because technically every one of those ropes is casting a shadow, and there'd be like a little line across somebody's face, and then there's a huge cheat and just creative license. But also, bring the moon, cue the moon, as they say when you need your skeletons. Which I thought was a really great idea. Instead of just making them the skeleton army, Ted and Terry had the idea that only in the moonlight you see them as skeletons, which really allowed you to have actors and not just have kind of creatures.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, can you imagine that if they were just like this the entire movie? Really wear on you.
But also the effect of the gradual sort of change from human into skeleton when Jeffrey steps into the moonlight, for instance. I mean, that's.
I think when you guys are sword fighting in and out of the shafts.
Oh yeah, that of course, yeah.
But even these guys, not in the shade here, even as pirates, they're kind of decomposing. There's that kind of thing. I always feel like they're pretty disgusting before the transition. And this was great. This was, we shot all of this handheld to try to keep that, sort of combat footage feel, and it just became a nightmare. On the one hand, because you had to photograph. There's nothing there, and so the cameraman has to remember. You would shoot it with an actor, and then remember where they are and pull focus. And I like that you check the genitalia on the statue.
Got to check the sex,
What is that thing? And then it ends up in your bag at the end.
A dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest. Honestly. It's the honest ones you want to watch out for. Because you can never predict.
But, the other way, 10 years ago, we would have to shoot this all motion control with green screens, and, it would have been very clinical.
Yeah.
These days you can freeze you up to, grab a camera and keep it sort of raw. Love this bit of music, too. Really, Hans and Klaus did a great job.
Coming up is a line from Elizabeth that I remember when I saw the trailer for the first time. It really made me laugh out loud.
What, the corset line?
The bit about the corset. Yeah. It just came so unexpected. It just was, and so well delivered,
She's great. It's a tough line to pull off. I think she really kind of, that's what, she's got such confidence that she commits.
Oh, she can make it all work, anything, I think,
I think she's launched.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that missile is launched.
Mm. Monkey.
It's nice to have kind of this whole oscillation between, a movie for kids, and yet there's enough for adults and the child and all of this.
I always thought it never seemed like just a kiddie movie or anything like that to me. It always seemed like it would appeal, or should appeal to.
But if you play it in a wide audience, you can feel the kids laughing at the kind of more slapstick stuff, and you can feel the adults laughing at the sort of, why is the rum gone, and the kind of more of the character-driven moments. And nice when you get 400 people in a theater and you feel that movement.
I've not seen it with an audience yet. I mean, just the premiere or whatever, but
that was
a different kind of deal.
Yeah.
Very different.
A lot of agents and.
Yeah, that was.
No, you got to go see it with 500 strangers, and that's where you really. I think you learn a lot about your movie when you get it up with those people.
Yeah, definitely.
Jonathan. just great. He came back for this whole sequence, and it was a late decision.
A strange B. Arthur thing going on. Oh, yeah, Maud.
Completely. He,
with that wig, you know.
I'm really glad we put him on the ship, because in the original draft he didn't even exist. You know, he never came back.
Right.
You know, and one of my concerns was, you know, you've got nobody on that. You've got all these skeletons in the British Navy fighting, and nobody's on that ship that you really care about. You know.
Yeah.
And it was like, what about Governor Swan? Let's put him. And that's how we kind of ended up back in the movie. And it's nice. It's great to have him. And he's just, you know, he came back in for a week, and it was great. I love this. Hal did a great job. Their key animator with you capturing your performance. And you went up and did some motion capture for this too.
Yeah, with little ping pong balls all over me. I love the coin thing.
Those are your eyes. Those are your eyes.
God, that's bizarre.
It's really, you know, great to be able to do that.
You're right. The transition between Moonlight and Shade is really, really something here.
It's really the most difficult stuff, because you have to. They're locked to the performance. You know, they're completely locked to the performance. They can't invent anything, because you're coming in and out. It has to be exactly tracked to your performance, which I think is really nice, because you retain, you know, you retain the performance of the actor in the scene. Massive cheating with the Moonlight here, obviously. I think the angle of the Moonlight was like this, you know, 45-degree, ended up at about 180 in the windows there, but
that's all right. The full moon.
That's right. It's everywhere. And you guys really did some great sword fighting here.
It was nuts, man. Oh,
sorry.
The lizard running on water.
Oh, the best lizard move is coming out of this sequence.
Oh, that's coming out of this, right? That's right.
Lip sync with no lips. Really, really tricky. Man, the tongue, and I love this. This is like the Scarecrow.
Yeah. Scarecrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Ray Bolger.
That right there, that's
lizard running on water. Absolutely amazing. Just the ability to keep character on the skeletons. I mean, you see exactly who's who. It's not just generic skeleton. I mean, you really see. When you see Trevor Goddard, you see Trevor Goddard. When you see Lee or Mackenzie, it's really them.
That's the one thing I feel like we did have time for, because even when we were prepping the movie, we had, you know, conceptual artist after conceptual artist, and all those guys, Crash and Damien and Derek, and all these guys who were working in my office doing drawings and looking at photographs as the cast came in, doing kind of versions of each actor as a skeleton, and Ireland picking that up and working on that and doing more photoreal representations from the line sketches. And also props, you know, and hats and hair, and, you know, who's got what pistol, and what do we keep, and what do we lose. And look at those dresses. I mean, they're just fully decomposed. The cavalry has arrived. And it's kind of just so nice to kind of keep this sort of handheld camera for all this stuff, so you're not into that, you know, super clinical feel.
Yeah.
It's just really important to just keep it random. And Bosun, Isaac, I mean, you can tell it's Isaac.
Oh, no question.
All that performance is taken from Mackenzie. I mean, 100% Mackenzie there.
gonna teach you the meaning of
You like pain? Oh. Try wearing a corset.
Puff cookie. Significant moment.
Side is Jack on.
At the moment.
Love this piece of music right here. Takes off. Because it's old-fashioned pirate cue, yet there's something fresh about it. You enjoy it.
What's the thing about the film itself brings back kind of old Hollywood, feel. As you said, before, there's something in it for everyone, as films used to be.
no fair.
Keepsakes from the cave? I stole a lot, yeah. I stole quite a few pieces of treasure. My daughter even stole treasure from the cave.
Oh, we couldn't find any of those coins. There was no coins left. Everybody you'd fill that cave with extras, and
oh yeah,
at the end of the day, there would just be completely, chalices and mugs and things missing.
Yeah, you hire a bunch of guys to be pirates.
Exactly. They're in character.
He didn't waste it.
I think this performance from you and Jeffrey.
Everything here.
It's great. You're gonna like how serious you play this too.
Yeah, you had to come back. The gravity of the moment,
I feel. Oh. He's great.
Fantastic.
And I get a really nice piece of music here. I think somehow when I heard this cue, I felt like, oh, yeah, this is saying the movie's actually been about something.
Yeah.
It's fun, but finishes it up nicely. And these guys, the composers, it was insane, Johnny. We were so rushed, they would have computers, and they'd have a session, and they'd have a phone patch, and they would have a choir recording from 9 to 11, and then they'd have brass from 11 to noon, and the same cue, and then the strings would come in, and the second half of the day, and play the same cues, all the click tracks, and
wow.
MIDI being fed across the world,
Parlay.
It's like an army.
The ship is ours, gentlemen.
Jonathan Pryce, just classic. Classic. Well, really.
Rig askew.
This little boxing hair thing is just brilliant. This is where the scene was omitted with you and with the chest closing and all that.
Oh yeah, right.
I think it was a good list.
Which cleared up the curves.
Completely cleared up the kind of they all have to return to the chest. And I think as written, it was really tough for an audience to understand that if you take one, you create your own curse. But then what about the pirates? They took them all. But how come one guy didn't put his back? How come he's not normal? And I think it did make a lot of sense to just simplify it down to they've all got to get back in the box. But it was a great scene. Really,
it was nice,
yeah.
fun scene.
I like all the stuff you pilfered.
He's got the
Happy Days.
Yeah, exactly. There's Dean Martin. There he goes.
I'm sorry.
I remember back at that. There's some diver under that boat just getting slammed again.
Oh, he
was holding his breath.
This was early on in the shoot.
Yeah, we had to come back to this quite a bit. Weather changing.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing didn't even exist originally in the first draft, and then it ended at the Island of the Dead, and then like, well, gee, that's kind of a bummer, you know. And coming back, I think, was a good idea, even though the film has quite a few endings. It felt like the right place to finish things off, and I love the listing of all of your crimes.
Yeah, there's certain things he's really proud of.
Personating a cleric of the Church of England.
Yeah,
great.
He's proud of it, you know.
Kidnapping, looting, poaching, brigandage, pilfering, depravity, depredation, and general lawlessness.
I remember when we did this, like, I think it was a day later. Elliot Marks,
Well,
bless him,
bless his soul.
our still photographer who has gone on to another plateau. Rest his soul, good man. But he gave me like a stack of photographs. You know, he was so excited by the imagery.
It's great.
He was loving it. He really loved every second of it.
I was already thinking, you know, that's who I want to bring on all my movies, because he, as much as I tripped over him and stepped on him and he was in shot and like, hey, get out of the frame, he cared about the movie.
He was like a method stillsman.
No, he was in there. He couldn't, he wanted to get as close as he could. He was on the crane. He was under your legs. You know, they're really, really talented.
Yeah.
I miss him.
He was something else. He was also, remember in the Caribbean, when we were on Petit Tabac, and I showed you something in the...
Oh, yes. Very nice. Yeah. Doll number 3. There was fine art. I'd like to get that.
And Elliot went in there. we went and searched him out, and he went in and he took the photograph.
It was quite a creation. Whoever that was, really, you know, has got some talents that the world really, you know, has yet to witness.
Yeah, it was a special moment.
That was when the grips were brushing their teeth with beer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It was a wonderful section of the film. Gary getting lost on the reef and barrels exploding and almost like, don't worry, it's safe. We'll just do a test. Boom! Barrel flies 40 feet and almost take somebody's heads off. Yeah, we came back to this that's great. I mean, all this stuff you do here.
It was nice, you know, just like available stimulus, you know.
Oh no, you're in the scene.
It happened, the thing, you know.
You're such a strong flavor. I had to actually start framing you out because all this stuff is great. You know.
If all I have achieved here is that the hangman will earn 2 pairs of boots instead of 1, so be it.
I couldn't stop watching you. You know? I had to start kind of like, gets up in here, you know. I had to start like, okay, a little more right.
Get him out of frame.
Well, you were earning your keep.
Mugging. This is the bit where it was very, very difficult to keep a straight face with Jonathan.
Oh, it's like everything's so earnest here.
Totally lies, then.
It is.
There you are. You were still there. That's nice. I love this exit. Just this whole section is great.
Well, I'm actually...
We had to come back and pick up something, too.
Yeah. Jonathan's reaction to the bread. Killed me, man.
He's fantastic.
No, yeah, the footballer sort of thing.
Elizabeth.
This is just...
It would never have worked between us, darling.
I love how much he believes that.
Yeah, it's kind of, you know...
Beautiful.
Yeah, she loved me, you know. She always loved me.
Yeah.
Either
It's
that or...
better off this way.
He's got an audience that's like, well, let's add to the myth.
This is the day that you will always...
No, I mean, it's all that stuff, falling off cliffs, swinging around, getting shot at. It's, you know, he's really not a very good pirate, you know? But the myth, you know, is it doesn't matter because the myth is out there and it says he's great.
Yeah, it's exactly that, man. It's the rock and roll star thing, you know. Before, you know, when they're on tour, the whole idea that the band is coming reaches the town, you know, and starts the excitement infinitely, you know, like way before they arrive.
Taking those rare photos out of Circus Magazine and cutting them, and pasting them up on your wall.
Yeah. That's it.
Keith Richards is coming to town.
That's it, man.
Now all that stuff, you get so much of that. It's, you know, the visibility is so high. They kind of, it's hard, you know. And myth is so much about appetite too, you know, and being a little starved.
Yeah.
Well, this is really good writing too. You know, just taking the sword idea and kind of using it, coming back, the good man idea, the code. I mean, those connections. Those guys are really good. I mean, it's very, you know, it's not like the movie's not laden with subtext. You know, it's text actually, it's not subtext. It's spoken, but these guys are really good. I think the credit really goes to Depp and Terry for just doing a fantastic job. The story.
Just also, I mean, just what you shot and put together. I mean, given that skeleton of the screenplay and then throwing the meat on this deal, man.
Well,
it
takes a village.
It takes a village. It takes a whole town. It takes half the state.
Okay, so we gave you the kiss and the crane shot. There you go. You've got it.
Out in the parrot, I remember that thing like pecking his eye out at times.
This is a great. I mean, George and the boys and Tony put this thing together, and Jimmy and just a great team. They put that thing together in no time. That's again ad-lib stunt work. You know?
Yeah.
I need something. When does it shoot? Tomorrow. You know.
Really amazing.
Yeah. Ah, yes, the hat. And the movie's about hats, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a movie about hats and wigs.
It's like Dr. Strangelove's about chewing gum. This movie's about hats.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. Caressing phallus.
Little phallus, phallic moment, yeah.
Yeah. Eisner was very concerned about his dailies.
That was really
One
good.
take
Take after take after take. Well, it is your bringing it to your eyes.
Oh, yeah.
And the
And really bad, eh? Wow. There's my singing debut.
Yes. Musical's next, I believe.
Hang up me heart in Joe Road.
Well, thank you everybody for listening.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Gore. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Ted and Terry.
Thank you for the water.
Yeah.
Fine, sparkling medicine, really.
Yeah. Oh, I never saw that based on Walt Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, here's a question. At the end of the credits, there is a...
Oh, yes, an Easter egg.
There's an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Now, I've not seen it, but I've heard about it.
You have to be very patient.
Very patient.
A lot of people worked on this movie.
Penny Rose.
Wow. Take her anywhere.
She's something, man.
Unbelievable. I just really knows how to keep the director's vision and then go off and work with actors and you know, actors want to wear certain clothes, but she's able to kind of explore that and you know, when you first showed up with that wardrobe and all your stuff in your trailer with your teeth and everything, I was just kicking myself with joy. You know, just
I'll never forget that.
Unbelievable.
The moment when I first got into wardrobe and makeup and hair, and you walked into the wardrobe room where I'd been dressing, and you just walked in, you had a cigar, and you walked in, you went, "That's it, that's it."
it was so right. I mean, it was just so alive and perfect. We're in the contemporary, motorhome in a trailer and in the real world, and I just was taken to a place, just boom. I felt like, oh, everything else is fake. That's real. It was that kind of impressive and immediate, and don't change a thing.
No. It was like suddenly the Howard Pyle kind of thing brought the life.
It's great.
Thanks to Dear Penny.
V
and Martin
and you. I mean, all that stuff that you all your research really paid off. It was a joy.
I don't know how.
Okay.
All right, man. There's all the names.
Here's all the people.
David Bailey, that's it. Cotton.
Fantastic. Poor bastard. Didn't get a line. Parrot stole the show.
Parrot, yeah.
But he's such a great face and really overqualified.
Yeah.
Look at the stunt team. Jesus Christ. Look at the stunt team. Unbelievable. I'm glad that Jack's crew and Barbosa's crew got
credit.
Yeah. So he's doing some really every day. It's interesting.
My dentist even got a credit, I think.
Good. Well, he should.
Yeah, absolutely. He deserved one.
It's it was amazing that there's that many people that worked on the movie and just did a great job. Because you can, at some point, you get completely myopic. It's like, here's the frame, here's you or Kira or somebody, and it's like a triangle, and there's Martin and Derek, myself and Trevor and you, and the actors and the scene, and then there's just this kind of 30 people behind that, and 60 people behind that, and 400 people behind that, another 200 people, and then the editorial staff, composers and musicians, and it's I felt like it was a small movie too,
I felt totally like a small, just intimate kind of, bunch of, people doing, working together and making a thing.
There were days where you'd come around,
but you had no idea it was.
You'd come around the bend and there was 2 helicopters loading, one just, dropping in kind of cargo containers. And, my God.
Joe Pancake.
Christopher Boyes, George Waters, great. The sound team did a great job too. Great job.
Yeah. It is amazing what Lee was able to
he is,
save
he
from the original.
Amazing. And, it's usually, Lee Orloff, our sound recordist, you rarely get mixers complimenting the sound that's been recorded on set, because they protect the downside. It's in their best interest to go, oh, this is garbage, but I'll see what I can do. You always get that. Oh God, who was the guy who recorded this? It's horrible. There's a fan in the back. I can't hear. There's a generator sound, all that stuff.
And he had everything against him. Everything against him.
And he gets compliments. He's the only guy where mixers, doesn't matter what movie you're on, the mixer is they'll ask, who is this guy who did the sound? Because and he'll go to Rafi, our gaffer, and he'll like, do you have to park the generator there? Can't you just park it around the corner? It's 50 feet more cable. Can you just park it around the corner? Does that boat have to be running? It's like he drives people nuts, but he saves. He cares. He saves the sound.
I remember before my entrance into the film, he was where I'm standing on the crow's nest of the Jolly Man, the dinghy. And he came to me before and he said, do you think you're going to go in the drink? Because I had a radio mic on. Do you think you're going to go in the drink? I said, no, I don't think so. He said, all right, I'll just leave it on you then. Are you going to say something? I said, I don't know. I don't think so, but we'll see. 5 minutes later, he came back to me and said, you know what? I'll just take the radio mic just in case.
Yeah, he's one of a kind. I mean, he's really
good man.
I would listen to movies and go, who did the sound, the dialogue, and I found his name more often on films that I really respect the sound, and then I just kind of had to find out who he was. You know, the first time I worked with him, I just felt like, okay, I've got to get this guy in every movie. He's just amazing, and he drives people nuts. But it takes a guy like Rafi. I mean, usually gaffers hate, doing the extra work. It's like the light to the fan on it to be cool or do this or that. And Rafi's just such a heart like a baseball glove. I mean, he's just such a warm guy. He totally gives Lee. He knows Lee's doing his job, and he'll do anything he can to help Lee. And that relationship is unique. It's very rare you see that.
It's funny because you say, there's a couple of guys at least a couple of guys that you said, well, I want to take them on every movie. And it was like, practically everyone, really, in this instance, we just thought, can't we just make this a series? And just do it all the time? Because
just keep the gang together.
Yeah, because it was just such a great, happy family,
Well, you turned me on to V. I mean,
yeah,
and then the fact that she wanted to do the whole show, man, I thought she was just going to do your makeup. I mean, the fact that she just took on the whole show, and she, wow.
She did amazing work under,
she's a class.
As everyone was under, quite a bit of pressure here and there, but she's a great artist, She's really
She comes in every day, with a good smile. Doesn't make that scene back there, when you're directing on set, sometimes the kind of, because the ADs, the schedule, the turnaround, forcing turnaround and everything, you can get, the gossip trailer, the makeup, and they're winding everything up, and then your production is, she really kind of, I think, keeps it like we're all in this together, and she doesn't do that game, which I think is really great.
No, she came in, did her gig. Great attitude. Martin as well, Martin Hare.
Yeah, he's working with you now.
Yeah, great team, man. Really good team.
I never, I thought the production was hard, 18 hours a day. The editorial, insane.
Here it is.
Jeff Reed is sitting there. And the apple. So monkeys don't swim.
Apparently he did, though.
There's a plank under the water. Feet under the water, black plank. Ladies and gentlemen, good night.
I like it.